Hello. Welcome to the I Need a Reboot podcast, where we discuss how to discover your personal power. I am your host, Stephanie Willis of INeedAReboot.com, and with me today is Bob Lavendeski, and we're delighted to share these power thoughts with you. Oh, brother. Okay, let's do a quick chat. Let's talk a little bit about some of the questions that come up. The most important question is around purpose.
Right.
Right. What is my purpose?
Yeah, people tortured themselves with that. I did for decades.
Yeah, you know what I did too. Actually, starting with back in our 20s, I think it's common for us to start investigating purpose. Like, what am I here for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you feel very. There's a lot of angst around not knowing, and frustrations around what is my life, what is it about, what should I be doing, and I think that comes into play a lot when people are just uncomfortable, right? Because if you're having fun, that's not usually the first question that comes up. Is like,
yeah,
what's my purpose?
Right.
You're having fun, you're enjoying life, and in the moment that is your purpose.
Right.
But,
Absolutely.
So I did take some notes. I'm gonna loosely find those for this, to answer this question. One very important bit of information that I received intuitively was around life and death, or love and fear, which rolls into purpose. So life is synonymous with love. The other question that comes up is, what is love? That's actually was a recent question in the webinar, right?
Right.
Well, okay. Explaining what love is. And I know that we really get that confused with love being an emotion. I think people feel like love is some either romantic expression only, or something that a parent gives a child. They don't really think about the big picture or what love really is.
Right. Right.
So I wrote, life is synonymous with love. And if we could only understand love and the power that it is, we could change our worlds inside and out. And that is so. That is true. If we remove the idea that love is contingent, romantic, limited, transactional, or for that matter, just a demonstrable affection, and recognize that love is our very existence. And I know it takes time to get there. It took a long time for me to get there. Love is spirit. Love is power. It is one, yet it is in all. The power that is love creates all. It is perfect. It's balanced, harmonious, and unblemished. Love is life. It is the air that we breathe. Thus, it is breath. Breathing air into its creation. Love is divine power. So, this love is perpetually generating new life and sustaining existing life as nature does. And I know, Bob, at one point I asked you about what is the divine power? How is that represented for you? And you talked about nature.
Right. Yeah.
So I started to explore the idea as it relates to nature. And the term netter comes from the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic language meaning divine force or sustaining power. Yep, we're doing this. Phonetically, the term is related to other terms having the same meaning, such as the Latin term natura, the Spanish term naturaleza, and the English term nature. So, nature is actually one of my favorite places to be, like out in nature, being surrounded by nature, animals, trees, plants, the sun, the clouds, the moon, all of that wonderfulness that you get to experience when you're outside. So remember this, human interaction isn't necessary for nature to exist and thrive. It just does. That's a big thing. Nobody really thinks about that. Right? Nature is balanced. It is cyclic, regenerative, self-governed, and self-healing. And it does these things of its own power. It doesn't need us for that. So you remember the COVID lockdown, Bob? Tell me what you remember from that, as it relates to when all the people were stuck at home and the animals were like, oh, it's quiet out there.
Right. Yeah. Nature came back quite naturally and quickly, nature came back into the cities as people stopped driving, people stayed at home. Yeah, it's amazing to see that nature, like love, right, is expanding all the time. It's going to take every opportunity to just expand and grow. And that's exactly what we saw during the deepest part of the lockdown. I saw videos of wild boar coming into cities in Spain and deer and elk and coming into different places in Japan. And it was really interesting to see.
And then you saw how the waters begin to clear up, and they were less muddy and less murky, and things just nature. It seemed so peaceful and tranquil. There was less smog in the air.
Right. I saw a
right?
thing in India. This guy got up on the roof of his house and he could see the Himalayas from his house, and he had lived there for decades. He said, I've never seen the mountains before. So the air pollution got way, way better. People saw the sun for the first time in a long time in a lot of these places, in China, in India.
Yeah. So in that, with that, that tells me that nature is self-regenerating. It is self-healing. It is always and forever moving and always and forever expansive, expanding itself, surviving and thriving and doing whatever is necessary to make that so.
There was a quote in Jurassic Park. They said, life will find a way.
Life will find a way.
Yeah.
So love will find a way.
Right.
And what we know now from a lot of abandoned cities, even like ancient cities where the plant life and the wildlife just engulfs those places, and at some point, it appears that no one ever lived there. I mean,
Right.
as the wildlife continues to grow and nature takes over, the visible evidence that humans ever lived there starts to become not visible anymore.
Yeah, like in Chernobyl in Russia after that nuclear accident. If you check out a documentary about Chernobyl today, it is amazing. The plants, the animals have just completely thriving there right now. And the signs of human civilization, the buildings and things are all being covered over with plants. Trees are growing in the streets, in the cracks in the sidewalk, and the signs of humanity is rapidly disappearing there. And this amazing, vibrant, abundant nature is just filling in.
So, again, that worldwide event, COVID, really demonstrated how quickly nature self-regenerates and restores life. It is the same with love. When we choose love, we can observe the effects of that choice in and around us. If we as humans choose to embrace love, we will see the same self-regenerating properties or qualities or events happening in our own lives, in our bodies, in our health, in our relationships, in our opportunities. We don't have to force things if we embrace the power of love.
Right, which is the power of life that we're embracing into our lives through this power of love. We can allow that to have greater access, greater effect in our lives.
So, getting back to the term love, and what is it? Love is divine power, and we are emanations of that love, emanations of that divine power embodied in physical form, fashioned from nature's materials. So, pulling in the analogies from nature, and hopefully people can see that the same power that nature represents, that regeneration, that healing, that the beauty. Nature is so beautiful. Even in its wrath, it's beautiful. So it is for us as well. We ebb and flow the same way that nature does.
Right.
Do we not?
Absolutely. That's something I talk to my clients about all the time. It's like nature oscillates. It's up and down, up and down. And so many of my clients, they want their path to be just easier and easier and smoother. It's like, that's not the way of nature. Nature is up and down. And it doesn't mean when things get challenging that there's a problem or something is wrong. It's like, that's just the way life works.
And it's because nature is self-cleansing as well. Right. So the tough stuff is sort of self-cleansing. Our higher self is giving us opportunities to take out the trash, so to speak. So when we embrace love and live from that high vibrational power, we radiate that love into our life experiences. That is the purpose of our lives, to live from the heart and embrace our experiences lovingly. So, we're told to embrace life like little children, maintain that wonderment and curiosity, and experience our beingness without fear, without shame, without criticism, without judgment, and without rigid beliefs, because that is on the other side of love. That's where fear has crept in,
Right.
which is the next piece of this. Why aren't we embracing love? Because of fear, because of those things that I just mentioned, that shame, criticism, judgment, and rigid belief systems. There's a lot of talk about doing shadow work, which I hadn't heard of until recently, but we've always been doing shadow work. Those of us who are paying attention to observing life, looking at what is, looking at the gap between where we are and where we want to be as a soul, and doing the work in between. I think that you could safely say that is the shadow work, right?
Yeah. And the shadow is not something bad. That kind of goes along with people wanting everything to get easier and better and better. It's like the shadow is a part of us that we need to embrace, not to fight or push away. It's integral
Right.
to our life and our love and our expansion. We need to embrace our shadow.
So when we talk about shadow work, what stands in the shadow of love is fear. And I said in my writing, that is the real shadow.
Right.
Love and fear are diametrically opposed, yet they share the same divine power, the same power source. If love and fear were seeds planted, would they not grow from the same rich soil, bright sun, and fresh rainwater? Its divine power is impartial in that it powers whatever seeds you plant in your life experience. And there are only two kind, love and fear.
Right. Absolutely. That's it. Love and fear. And they, as you just stated, they can't exist simultaneously. You're either in love or in fear. You can't be
Correct.
a little bit of each.
Right. But it's the same power
Right.
that powers both of those energies. It's one power source, and you can flip it up for love or flip it down for fear. You have to choose one. You don't get to say, I'm not going to choose either, and let it ride out, because in that you're choosing fear.
Right.
Right. And
Well, that's an important point too. Is like we have a choice, right?
We have a choice.
We have a choice to choose one or the other, and we practice daily to choose the side of love, the side of power, the side of life.
So fear is synonymous with death. Right.
Right.
We spoke about love, which is synonymous with life. Love is always in action. It's always moving. Fear is death. It is contraction. It is constriction. It is stagnation, right?
Yeah.
So any plant or animal, we're talking nature again, if afraid to live, to love their very existence enough to thrive and procreate, they will die, either of starvation or extinction, correct?
Right.
That love for life is inherently built into their nature. So unlike us, those of the animal kingdom don't have to think about it. It's instinctual. They instinctively know what they need to do to survive and thrive as a species. To exercise fear for us humans, well, I guess for any species, is to deny love, the divine power that exists in each of us. And fear is most destructive in the absence of discernment. When you don't recognize that you're in the shadow of fear, that is when it is most destructive, because you don't even know what's happening. You don't even know what you're allowing to happen in your life. You don't realize that you are allowing your life force to be diminished.
Right. Yeah, we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves. It feels like it's coming from outside of us, but it's not realizing there's a choice, not realizing that you're even in fear. Yeah, so a lot of it's awareness, and then we can make a choice.
Correct. Our life experiences and the outcome of those experiences are definitely a matter of choice. We do have to choose. Yet when fear is chosen, we get derailed, and then the fear can become compounded, right? Fear on top of fear on top of fear. You start running away from life. You start making fear-based choices.
Right.
And the first fear-based choice can lead into another fear-based choice and another, because you're trying to escape that which you have created. Nevertheless, fear has an important role to play. And it is up to us to decide how to respond to our life experiences. The persona of fear is it's a component that I cover in detail in the Reboot Bootcamp. If somebody has access to the book, there's a whole lesson there on fears to help one understand the personification of fear and how it is at work in your life, so that you can identify it, and then you can flip that switch up to love.
Right. And breaking patterns. We talked about this yesterday about we get into patterns, right? We have patterns of thought, patterns maybe of fearful thinking, patterns of repetitive actions. And it's really the interrupting of these patterns that gives us an opportunity to make a change and to choose love over fear, for example.
So circling back to that question around purpose, talking about love and fear, or life and death, I felt was necessary for someone to understand this piece around purpose. So, why do I exist? You exist because of love. I exist because of love. And we're getting the idea of purpose mixed up with creating meaning in our lives.
Correct.
Right? Our
Yeah.
purpose for existing in this form that we call a body is simply to create and have experiences. So you're creating experiences and you're enjoying those experiences.
Right.
And, as a creator, you're saying, how do I want to love myself today? And this is not a vanity thing. How do I honor the creator in me? What creation will I manifest? And I don't want to use that word because it seems a little overused right now, but what will I create? What experience will I create myself for myself that I can love? What is a loving experience that I can create for me? And I know that if it's something created from love, with the intent to love it, enjoy it, embrace it, then other people are going to love it as well. It's not selfish. In that moment, we're sharing what we've created. We're sharing ourselves also. We're sharing the love that we have within ourselves. And we are to live life freely and fearlessly from the heart. And this encompasses the golden rule. It's not, living freely from the heart doesn't mean saying to hell with somebody else. I'm going to do this thing no matter, how it impacts someone else. If you're living from the heart, that doesn't come into play. You're
Right.
creating something loving for yourself that you can share with others. And purpose, therefore, stays the same. Your purpose for living, I feel, is perpetually that to create and have experiences. The question that people are really asking is around the meaning that they'll create for their lives and the mission that they may want to establish
Right.
with their life.
Yeah. And they get to choose that.
They get to choose.
We make meaning in our lives, and we get to choose the meaning. And there's a lot of power in realizing that.
Right. In order to create meaning, though, and develop that mission, people have to get out there and live. So they have to create experiences and embrace or experience their creation. And that is how they find, their passion. That's how they're going to discover what is it that I want to do in my life. That's how they're going to develop a mission. They have to get out there and live. So the question is, what is that you love to do? Go do that.
Right.
And if you don't
Absolutely.
know, then go explore that. Go explore something so that you really won't know until you start exploring. Like I remember when you exposed me to kayaking. I mean, I love the water. I know how to swim, but I'd never gone kayaking. And when I did it, I was like, holy moly, this is fun. I want to do this again. I started
Right.
telling all my friends about it, like, hey, you should go kayaking. It's really cool. And they're like, kayaking, Stephanie? Like, really? But you have to have the experience before you can know whether you like it or not. You can't say, I don't like that,
Right.
if you've never tried it. So, you might like to drink fine wine and develop a passion for creating exquisite wine pairing experiences. That's an example. And from there, you might make it your mission or you might make it your mission to source or craft the most exquisite wine in all of North America, because you've gone from knowing nothing about wine to, I'm going to try wine, and then going, oh, this is delicious.
Yeah,
And then
and
learning how to,
learning.
how to
Yeah,
pair
yeah.
wine. And then you can get so fascinated about it that you decide, oh, I'm loving this experience. And I want to create experiences like this for other people. That is
Right.
an example of getting out there, exploring something, trying something new.
Right.
And that where you may develop a passion around this new thing. And then you might want to turn around and create those wonderful experiences for other people. And thereby you're sharing your love or your passion for something
Right.
that you have come to really, really enjoy. The thing is, the meaning and the mission can change anytime you choose. Purpose stays the same.
Right.
But the meaning that you make for your life or in your life or out of your life and the mission that you establish for your life, you can change those at any time. So
Absolutely.
yeah, if you don't want to, if you're like, I'm over wine, I'm going to move into whiskey.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah. There's a movie called Adaptation that's like that. This guy, he's very into fish and tropical fish, and this journalist, Meryl Streep, is interviewing him. She has no passion in her life. She has no idea what she's might be interested in, and she interviews him, and he's totally not about fish anymore, and all about orchids now. And and she's like, "Wait, what about the fish? You were so passionate." He's like, "I'm done with fish."
Yeah. That's
So
how I felt about soap making. Like,
Yeah.
I loved it when I loved it. And then I was like, okay, I'm done.
That's the beauty. There's
Yeah.
infinite number of things to explore and get excited about. And like you said, you might not know whether you like it or not, but all you have to do is go to a class, attend something, and just say yes to exploring different things, because we're not locked into anything.
We're not. And it comes back to choice. You mentioned it. I mentioned it. The real question is, how will you create meaning in your life? What will become your mission?
Right.
Right? You get to choose. If you're waiting for somebody else to tell you, one, you're wasting currency. You're wasting time and energy noodling around, doing nothing, not really feeling that joy that you get from having created meaning in your life, or defining a passion, or or creating a mission for yourself. You'll be wasting time. Years will go by, and you'll see everybody else living their dream,
Right.
and you'll start feeling like, oh man, as a matter of fact, this actually piggybacks off of conversations we've had recently around people who haven't found their passion, who are sort of overstepping their boundaries and trying to tell other people what they should do in their lives and how to do their thing. Or I don't know what to call it right now, but there's that aspect to watch out for when don't become that person,
Right.
but look out for those people that they're searching, and because they can't find, they're encroaching upon your space and encroaching upon what you've found, something that you are passionate about. And then you've got this human that comes along and says, hey, you need to do this, or you should do that. And it's like, hey, hold up, pump your brakes. I didn't ask you.
Right.
So I think we need to be mindful of the things that can happen when we don't decide, when we
Right.
don't truly from the heart
Right.
decide,
That's it.
this is what I want to be doing. This is
Right.
what I know
Right.
is for me. So it's like, I'm going to do me. You do you.
Yeah. Well, this is what just really came in strongly as you're saying that is so many people are trying to figure out their purpose through their mind, which is through fear. A lot of it's like, well, I got to go. This is risky. I should stay safe and take this job or whatever. So they're trying to figure out meaning through their fear and through their mind. And when they can be more heart focused and led by intuition and what really lights them up inside, if they could kind of forget about the how or how to make it happen and just get in touch with what gets them excited, then
Yes.
I think they're far more locked on to the path of the meaning that they want to create in their life.
Exactly.
But a lot of it's thwarted by the fear, which gets us all up in our head and all in survival mode, and we kind of disconnect from the heart. And how do we bring that brain and heart together?
Right. That's going to be something that we'll be talking about in the boot camp. And, again, if you're waiting for somebody else to tell you what your purpose is, you're definitely wasting time, but you're also passing up the opportunity to create and have meaningful experiences, right? That's where wasting time, crosses over into look at what you could have been doing. And then you won't be living your truth. You're making it more difficult than it needs to be. When you can lose yourself in the passion for life, you'll tune into the energy of meaningfulness. You'll find it. That passion for life is the embodiment of love and creation.
Right. And you can bring that into your life right now, no matter what it is. If you have a job that you don't like, it's like, how do I bring meaning into this job through my purpose of love and sharing love? How do I bring a more loving attitude into my current situation? And then inviting an even better situation that's more in alignment by making peace with what is right now. We can enjoy our purpose and have meaning today in whatever we're doing right now. It doesn't mean that we're locked into it. I think a lot of people are afraid, well, if I like where I live or I like this job or I start to enjoy it, then that means I'll never change. And I think we got to figure out ways of bringing that purpose, bringing that love into all areas of our life right away.
Right. And so just to wrap this piece up, I'm going to reiterate, you will tune into the energy of meaningfulness when you can lose yourself in the passion for life. That passion for life is the embodiment of love and creation.
Amen.
Thank you for listening, y'all.